Hi beautiful, welcome to my channel. In today's video we're going to be talking about the new Naughty Nudes palette from Huda Beauty. This palette just came out today. I love that her palettes always launch during the Sephora VIB sale because you can always get them with a little bit of a discount. This is not a cheap palette, so anything we can save on it definitely helps. In this video, we're going to be comparing this palette to all of the other Huda Beauty palettes because I thought there were a lot of shades in here that kind of sounded familiar. Besides that, you'll see swatches, of course, of this palette alone, and we'll be creating an eye look. Just one today, you guys. I'm sorry. There was a lot to get through. I compared this to a lot of different palettes. I will do a 5 looks 1 palette in a future video, so stay tuned for that. If you're new to my channel, my name is Patty and I would love it if you're here to stay, so go ahead and hit that red subscribe button before you leave. If you guys like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And with that said, let's go ahead and get started. If you've watched any of my videos before, you know that some of my favorite palettes to buy and play with are the Huda Beauty palettes. So when I saw that the Naughty Nudes palette was announced, I immediately knew that this was a palette I was going to pick up and that I would want to try. Now, this palette did remind me a lot of some other Huda shades that I already own and have in my collection. So I was wondering if it was going to be different enough to justify spending the money on it. I mean, personally for me, I justify it because I know I'm buying it to make this video for you guys so that you know whether or not you need it. So I went ahead and swatched this palette and compared it to all of the other Huda Beauty palettes that I own for the most part. And I'm not only going to show you the swatches of this palette, but I also am going to show you side-by-side swatches of this palette and how it compares to the rest of the Huda palettes that I own. Now, the formulas are probably going to be slightly different. I feel like Huda's formula gets better as the years go by. Like her formula from 3-4 years ago is nothing impressive compared to the formula that this palette has or that the Mercury Retrograde palette has from last year. These formulas I think are a lot more blendable, a lot more rich with pigment. And something else I want to point out is this palette is made in Italy, and her new Nudes palettes, these right over here, are not made in Italy. These are made in China. And the reason that it's important to point that out is because I personally love the formulas of these nude palettes right here. I think they're incredible. I recommend them. But when formulas are made in Italy, they're known to be more pigmented, more blendable, and a better quality formula. So definitely keep that in mind. These feel a little bit more creamy, more hydrated, more rich, rather than some of her other formulas like the ones we could find in these, which are a little bit more powdery. I also love that she's experimenting with new formulas because there is several formulas in this palette, some shimmer, some more on the matte side, that are almost a cream to powder formula, sort of like the Natasha Denona creamy formulas. Especially like this shade right here reminded me of that because it is a satin finish shade almost, and when you swirl it together it has a nice medium taupey brown, and it definitely feels like a cream rather than a powder. And there is a lot of the shimmer formulas in this palette that are also pretty creamy. So let's go ahead and get into the swatches and the swatch comparisons before I even get into playing with this palette. Okay guys, here are the swatches, and starting with the top row from left to right, we have the colors Filthy, Passion, Shameless, Please Me, Hypnotic, and Hard. Second row, we have Untamed, Irresistible, Flower Power, Rough, Spicy, and Arouse. And then starting with the shiny, glowy, weird color on the bottom row, we have Slippery, Tantric, Naughty, Provocative, Desired, and Juicy. So these right here are the swatches of this palette. I feel like it's a little bit less monochrome than I initially expected. I thought it was going to be all burgundies and neutrals, but there is some purple in there as well, and some like warmer shades. So now let's go ahead and compare these shades to the shades that we might already own. This is how the palette compares to the Sand Haze palette by Huda Beauty. There are maybe like 2 shades that get a little bit close, but for the most part, even the ones that I thought would be very similar have slightly different undertones. I also went ahead and compared it to the Purple Haze from Huda Beauty, and most of the colors are also slightly different in this one, except for the shimmer red. From the Nude Obsessions medium right here, only these three colors I thought were close enough to compare. Everything else was pretty different. Okay, then I compared the Nude Obsessions light right here, and I swatched 6 out of the 9 colors. They're not the same really, they're kind of, you know, similar-ish vibes to the colors on top, but none of these were actually a dupe or an exact match. Out of the smaller palettes, I was most curious to compare it to the Nude Rich, and as you can see, it does have some shades that have very similar tones. This matte purpley shade right here, and these 3 shades right here, especially the first 2, have very similar vibes to some of the colors in the Nude Rich palette. However, there were a lot of shades that I couldn't find similar tones for in there. Okay, so just because I was curious, I went ahead and selected shades from all 3 of the Nude Obsessions palettes, and I paired them with shades from this Naughty Nudes palette. And even though some of them are not like very exact matches, especially I had trouble in this area right here, I feel like from here down, all of the shades are pretty comparable to one another, to the point where you could argue you don't need the Naughty Nudes palette, you know? Surprisingly, from the new Nudes palette, there wasn't a lot that compared, so this is what I was able to get. These right here are what I was able to get, and none of them are quite the same except for this one right here on the palm of my hand. Everything else is different formulas or just different tones in general. I don't think much compares from the new Nudes palette. Next, I have the Desert Dusk palette right here, and from this one there was very little that compared. I feel like Huda really likes the red metallic shades, because I found a really good dupe for this one in almost every palette, but besides that one, everything else is quite different. I swatched them anyways just because I was really making sure that they weren't the same. And as you can see, there's undertone or consistency differences between the shades, except for that metallic red. I don't have the new Rose Gold edition, I have the original one she came out with a long time ago. The formulas in the original are not that great, and I don't think any of the colors compare that much anyways. So I'm going to skip this one. I'm not going to compare it because, again, except for that like metallic red, every other color just seems different in this one. I do have one more palette that I want to compare it to. Last palette we're comparing it to is Mercury Retrograde, which is my favorite Huda Beauty palette ever, and it came out last year. Here are the swatch comparisons to that one, and honestly none of them are even close. I feel like in the computer they look closer than in real life because the formulas are very different and all of these colors have pretty different undertones to them. I feel like the closest one is this matte right here in the palm of my hand. Everything else, it's very different from each other. I was just texting with one of my friends, and it actually helped me to tell you guys something, because she wanted to know whether or not the palette was worth getting and whether or not she should have it. And I was saying, if you have these 3 palettes right here, if you own all 3 of the new Nudes palettes from Huda Beauty, then you don't really need this Naughty Nudes palette, because you can find pretty much very similar formulas to almost every shade in this Naughty Nudes palette in these palettes right here. Now, she doesn't have any of these Nude Obsessions palettes, in which case I said then definitely get it. I think it's worth it. It is a beautiful palette with beautiful formulas and beautiful colors. So unless you own all 3 of these, then I would go ahead and go for it if you like it and are excited about it. Now, this is obviously me talking from just swatching all the palettes next to one another. Let's go ahead and actually create a look with it, and then I'll be back with my final thoughts. Don't hate me, but I'm not going to switch the lens for the close-up eye look because I want to talk to you and give you my first impressions while I'm trying the formulas. I am planning on doing a 5 looks 1 palette with this one, so don't worry, you will get 5 other looks where I am very close to the camera. But for today, I just want to talk to you guys and play. I have my REPHR number 15 brush right here, and let's go into this color Hypnotic. And I'm going to place that color on the crease of my eye. Okay, it blended super nicely. Very blendable color is my first impressions. It looks really nice, just the amount of intensity that I wanted. And this is a really nice transition shade for me. Let's do the same thing on this eye. The REPHR number 15 is definitely my favorite for crease colors because it just blends them out so easily. Ooh, I really need to do my eyebrows. What's going on? I'm going to continue with that same brush into the color Juicy here. And I'm going to start applying Juicy on the outer corner of my eye. And just blend it onto that crease shade. That is a beautiful like mid-tone shade. Same thing over here. These are very, very smooth. I'm going to switch to my REPHR number 1 brush, and I'm very interested in trying this color here called Hard because, again, it's like a satin cream shade. Look at the color on my brush. It's always weird to put creams on top of powders, but that is what we're going to do. And I'm just packing it right on that outer corner of my eye. And I'm going to blend it into the crease. Honestly, it blended very nicely. I had zero trouble with it. I'm going to grab a little more and put it right here on the inner part of the eye as well. So let me just go ahead and do the same thing on this eye. This is what I have so far. I could stop here, but I want to try as many shades as possible. So I'm going to go into the color Naughty with my REPHR number 14. And I'm just going to add it here to the outer corner. The REPHR number 14 is perfect for detailed crease work. So it's just adding a little bit more of that berry color to the outer corner and blending it right into the crease shades. By the way, REPHR brushes are still 20% off. I'm leaving you all of the info and the links down in the description box, and they just launched their holiday collection today, so go check it out because it is $100 off for 8 days. Until November 8th, it'll be $100 off. Back with my big fluffy brush, I'm just going to make sure everything is nice and blended. I'm going to use a little bit of Spicy as well. Right here next to my lashes on the outer corner with my REPHR number 3 brush. Just a little bit extra smoky there. I'm gonna do it right here as well on the inner part of the eye. Okay, so I think for the center of my eyelid, I want to try the color Passion, which is this purpley shade here. And I'm going to go ahead and tap it in the center of my eyelid. Okay, so this is the look so far. And I want to use the color Provocative right here, which is like a lighter gold slash purple. Mostly it's gold, but it's got a hint of something else in there. And I'm going to tap it over top. Alright, so this is what we're looking like so far. I guess I should try this color Slippery because this is the color that everybody's like intrigued about, but it kind of felt sticky and I don't feel like I'm going to love it, but I'll try it anyways for the sake of this video. I'm just patting it over top here. Just like I thought, I don't like it. For some reason, I had this shimmery thing going and now it kind of looks muted on this side. It didn't actually give it glow, you know? I just realized why. It's because instead of sticking to my eyelid, it took my eyeshadow away from my eyelid. Let me grab more and try again. No, I don't like it. I liked it more the way I had it before. I don't think that's doing anything for me. I also just am not personally a fan of like that gloss eyelid look, and this, it feels sticky. I don't love it. Buy this palette if you want to, but definitely not for that shade. Okay, I'm just redoing what I had before, which is what I have on this eyelid. For underneath the eye, I'm going to start with my number 14 in the color Naughty. And just blend that under there. And then with that same brush, a little bit of Hypnotic just to blend it out and soften things up a little bit. I'm going to grab the color Flower Power with my REPHR number 2. And this is going to be my inner corner highlighter here. Okay, I'm done playing and this is the look that I came up with. I wanted to use as many of the shades as I could just to have an idea of the formulas and how they work. So I made sure to use at least one of each formula that I saw in the palette so I can form an opinion. And then, like I said before, we will have a 5 looks 1 palette coming with this palette at some point this week or next week, so that you guys can see a bunch of other looks in case you're still not sure if you want it or not. So let me go ahead and do mascara and lashes, and I'll be right back. Back again, this time with my final thoughts. I went ahead and did the Pat McGrath Dark Star Mascara, and on my lips I have Iconic Nude Lip Liner and the Dance Floor Princess lipstick from Charlotte Tilbury, which is one of my favorite combinations ever. Now, as far as the Naughty Nudes palette is concerned from Miss Huda Beauty, this palette is not a cheap palette. They are $67 right now. The Rouge sale is going on, so Rouge clients at Sephora can get it for 20% off. On Tuesday, VIPs are going to be able to buy everything at Sephora, including this palette, for 15% off. If you guys haven't seen my Sephora sale suggestions video, I'm going to link it up there. It is a really good one to watch. There's something in there for everybody. But back to this one. I will say it is a really fun palette to have, and I know that I can create looks that are much more beautiful than the one I did today with it. The formulas are nice, everything blends really nicely, everything is really nice and shiny. The only color I don't care at all for is this weird color right here, Slippery. It is so sticky. I do not care for having anything sticky on my eyelids. I don't think it's that special, but the rest of the palette is really nice. I don't think you need this palette if you already own the Nude Obsessions collection, all 3 of them. Like I showed you guys before, you can get shades that are pretty close to every single shade in this palette from here. So if you own all 3 of these, then definitely do not get this palette. And then you saw in the rest of the swatches that there are some shades in each palette that kind of look similar, but nothing is quite exactly like this one. Whether or not you need this palette is for you to decide, because you are the one who knows what you have in your collection and how much you like or you don't like Huda Beauty formulas. The formula in this palette is made in Italy, so especially the matte shades I feel like are a little bit more creamy than some of her other formulas, but the difference is honestly not that much. So again, whether or not you need this palette is for you to decide. I personally love this color story, and I'm glad I could get it so that I could make this video for you. I will go ahead and do a 5 looks 1 palette with it, so that will be coming soon. But just go through your collection, and then depending on what you already own and what you like, decide whether you need this palette or not. If you do decide that you need it, I have my affiliate link down below, and I would love it if you shop from it, but do not feel any pressure to do so. I do make a very small commission from there, and what I make from there definitely helps me so that I can invest money back on my channel. But yeah, other than that, I really hope that you guys are having a wonderful day. Let me know before the Sephora sale ends if you want me to make a video of really good gifts to buy at Sephora for other people this holiday season. I've been thinking about doing that, but I don't know. I love you guys so much. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts on the new Naughty Nudes palette from Huda Beauty down in the comments section below. I love you all. I hope you had a wonderful weekend, and I hope to see you back in my next video. Bye!